going on, Redskin fans? So here I am protesting peacefully, I might add, on behalf of our beloved Washington Redskins. And look who showed up. The law showed up. None other than Law Thomas of Law Nation, big Cowboys fan. Law, thank you for joining us on the program.
All right, man. Really appreciate it, man. Wonderful platform. I'm just getting a little squirmish, man, with all of this burgundy, man.
Like I was talking about yesterday, hopefully we'll make you guys put on your all blues that you hate to wear. You know, let us wear the whites at home. Normally we like to throw on the burgundies at home, and then you'll get to wear your customary whites. Nah. Make them throw on the navy blues that they don't ever like to wear.
It's going to be hot outside.
That's
so
what
I want to wear my light colored clothes. You know?
Exactly. It's hot. Let the sun soak up that dark navy blue, man. All right. So I want to start with Dak Prescott. There's been so much made of Dak Prescott, this Cowboys football team, with all the contract situations. They've handed out a lot of money over the last couple of months, it seems like. Lyle Collins got paid. Jalen Smith got paid. Ezekiel Elliott obviously just got paid. And now Dak's the last guy that you think is going to probably get paid. And it seems like it's imminent. Is this the most comfortable you've seen Dak Prescott look? I thought he looked excellent in week 1 versus the Giants. And we'll talk about the weaponry that he's surrounded by. We'll talk about his offensive coordinator here in a second. But is this the most comfortable that Dak Prescott has looked to you in a Dallas Cowboys uniform?
Most quarterbacks blossom when they get into their 4th year. And if you look at his mechanics, his footwork, the way he delivery of the ball, and the way he reads the field is a whole lot better than what he did the previous years. I'm thinking that with Kellen Moore's offense, as well as with the Kittners of the world, of just sitting down and going over each little small things helps out Dak Prescott. And plus, it's going into his 4th years. So yeah, it's his most comfortable year. Yeah, he's looking comfortable.
I look at all the weaponry on this football team. You got multiple tight ends, Witness back. You look at the receivers. You had 200-yard receivers on Sunday versus the Giants, and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper. And then you add Randall Cobb in the slot. Is this the most weaponry that Dak Prescott has had surrounding him in his Cowboys career?
I mean, he got solid weapons all over. I'm looking at the fact that, you're looking at the second year with Michael Gallup. You already know that he can catch the ball and pluck it out of the sky. He's the physical guy, so he's going to play the X position. And then on top of that, you got Amari Cooper, who can take the top off the defense, who can run routes like no other, second to none. And then you add in a Randall Cobb, and then you split that situation with a Tony Pollard, who can be versatile enough to run out of the backfield and also line up in the slot. They got so many weapons, nuanced route runners, and then they have a coach who believes in the new philosophy as far as the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Remember Kellen Moore? I think he put up 400 yards against the Redskins, I believe his last final year or something like that in 2000, and I want to say 15 or something like that. He put up 400 yards. The guy is cerebral, and I think what he's doing collectively is transferring some of his knowledge over to Dak Prescott. And that's why you see a better gameplay out of Dak Prescott because of Kellen Moore.
Let's stick with that, because I think that's a perfect segue to my next question, and that is Kellen Moore. What's the biggest difference you see in this offense between Scott Linehan, the ex-offensive coordinator, and now Kellen Moore and what he's been doing this season? It's a small sample size, I know.
Right,
only one game.
Small.
What have you seen?
You can't crown them yet, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
What I see is this right here. The same philosophy is the same philosophy. Football is not a new invention, right? It's still 11 versus 11. That's just what it is. But what I'm listening in to what the team is saying is what Kellen Moore does differently than Scott Linehan is that he listened. He listened to the players. And we already know that for those who out there that play Madden, that grew up playing the game and these sorts, it's all about rapport. And I'm not saying that football, the professional football level is like Madden, but what I'm saying is, John Madden, for those who don't know, is what I'm saying is that sometimes these young players can get a good feel of the game, and they can go to Kellen Moore and say, hey, remember that play we ran in training camp that worked against this particular formation? Let's run it again. But see, they couldn't have that same flow with Scott Linehan, because Scott Linehan was that old guy who was stuck in his ways, basically. And you guys had the same philosophy back in the days when y'all had Sean McVay on your offensive coordinations. You see, I think you saw the likings of a Chris Thompson lighting it up. You saw the other kid, I forgot his name, that he was a slot guy, that they was putting him in every Crowder, yes. They was putting him in every formation. They was moving him around, and you saw the philosophy there. So what I'm looking at is with Kellen Moore is that the players are comfortable going to him and saying, okay, can we run this play? And when they was going to Scott Linehan said, no. When I had Randy Moss, we did it this way. Or when he was coaching Megatron, he said, hey, I did it this way. And when he was coaching Dez Bryant for a short spell, I done it this way. So he wasn't willing to change. And we didn't have a Randy Moss. We didn't have a Megatron, you see, last year. Right. And that's just what happened. So I believe that's why you're seeing the offense being a little more relaxed opposed to being uptight.
So when you look at this football team, there's talent everywhere. And it pains me to say this because I've watched the Cowboys, much like my Redskins, struggle for many, many years. But of late, the Cowboys have done a magnificent job of drafting football players. I feel like the Redskins are getting better in that department, but we still got a ways to go. But I feel like the Cowboys have been accumulating a lot of talent over the last few years. But when I look at this roster, there aren't a whole, but there are a couple that I can, or at least players that I can point to and say, I'm not all that impressed by specific players. One being a guy that just got a massive deal in Lyle Collins. I think he's better guard than he is tackle, but that's another conversation for another day. What are the biggest weak links on this football team, on both sides of the football, in your estimation?
On the defensive side, you got to look at safety, and we are subject to being over aggressive at certain parts of our game as it relates to Jeff Heath. He'd probably be a guy that can get exposed in a sense because he's so aggressive. But outside of that, the kick, the other weakness that I can think of, and that's a good problem to have.
Yes.
If you can put up money on the board, because you wouldn't rely on the kicker. So that's the only weakness that I look at. Now, somebody can yell out and say, well, the quarterback and these sorts of things, but the quarterback just so I don't think that he's going to be a weak part of this team heading into week 2. Now, I would say this. The Redskins team, your team, the team that you love, you don't like them, you love them.
Love them.
I looked at your team as a strong front four, the front, physical, got all of the pressure inside. You guys, everybody in our division collectively drafted to stop Ezekiel Elliott, which is good. Got big bodies inside. I call them the Bama boys, but I heard that one of you guys are down one, right? Jonathan?
Yes, Jonathan Allen. Right now, we're not sure if he's going to play or not. Right now, it's kind of up in the air. He went and got a second opinion the other day. Right now, he's day-to-day. If you leave it up to him, he'll play. He's one of those guys you have to protect from himself. So if he is on the fence, I think they end up holding him out of this game. But if he's sure that he can go and the doctors say, look, he can't injure it any further, he'll probably be out there on Sunday.
Oh, wow. So Jonathan Allen, then Fabian Monroe, is he going to play?
Right now, again, another one of these up in the air. We got several guys that are up in the air. He's one of them. He did practice yesterday, not a full practice, limited practice. Same for today, limited practice. Tomorrow will really tell the story as to whether if he's going to play or not. Jay Gruden talked about it at his presser today that it looks like tomorrow will be a big deal for a lot of these guys in terms of them being available on Sunday or not.
And the other kid, Dunbar, I think his name's Quentin.
Yes, Dunbar. Same thing, same boat. He's in the same exact boat. They really don't know. I really don't think he's going to play. If I had to guess, I think he's going to be out. Monte Nicholson, our safety, also a question mark. A lot of people think he may not be able to play in this game. So again, the trend continues with this Redskins team and injuries. We're not even into week 2 yet, and we already have
Wow.
guys just about every level on the defense down, and we're looking at their backup players and thinking that they may have to contribute in a major way in week 2. So it's no different, but we'll see how it goes.
On the bright side, they're injured now. They can be healthy towards the latter part of the year. That's how you can look at it,
You can look at it that way, but when you're a Redskins fan, you don't look at it that way. You just look at it as guys missing time, and when they get back, somebody else, they're going to tag in, and somebody else is going to tag out. That's generally how we do it in these neck of the woods. We're hoping, and we're going to knock on a little bit of wood here, knocking a little bit of wood, hopefully that it's different this year, but so far, not so good for the Redskins. Let me ask you something.
Talk to me.
I've wanted this because on this side, the rivalry hasn't eroded as much as it's just not burning. That fire isn't burning as bright as it once did. Maybe some of that has to do with the fact that you guys have been dominant over us for the last 6-7 years. But is the rivalry still strong on your end? As Cowboys fans, do you still view the Redskins as your biggest rival, or do you view someone else in the division as your biggest rival?
Some of the older fans that was born in the 70s and the 80s, they kind of still have that bitter taste of the Redskins winning the Super Bowls in the late 80s and the early 90s. So they still have that, I would never forget about the Redskins, you see. So you got that from our fan base. Now, some of the newer generation, I'm talking about, this is like after the RG3 situation, they really are more so of the Eagles per se. So I'm looking at it, the Redskins are the Redskins. They are pretty much a team that's going to always play us tough. It's not going to be an easy game. Their defensive front is always going to be nasty. They bring in a lot of pressure. Now that you guys got Josh Norman, some of that situation transferred from the Carolina Panthers. Remember, he called Dez out and these sorts of things, and some of that rivalry spilled over. Now, I would say with Josh Norman, he's a hell of a zone cover corner. He can press at times pretty good. But my thing is, he had problems. He's subject to jumping on the double moves. He's subject to being lost out in space as it relates to open up his hips and things like that with speedy receivers. So I would like to see Josh Norman versus Amari Cooper, seeing if he can do anything, because I love DB play. But he going to have to step it up, and he got to be the heart and soul of this team, because I don't think Landon Collins will be, because the Landon Collins is more of a box guy. To me personally, it's just me, just my thoughts. He's not a cover range to range guy, nowhere clear or near Sean Taylor's of the world. But he is a guy that you can put inside the box. So he's a smaller linebacker that's on your team that, if they can shut down the run for my Dallas Cowboys and make us one-dimensional, then they can hold a lot of pressure on this team. But that's only if they can shut down the run and we abandon the pass and we try to run, and you guys can really put us in dangerous or treacherous water.
And that's similar to what happened last year in the first contest. The lack of talent was evident last year. After the Redskins game last year, that's when you traded for Amari Cooper, because there just weren't many options available for Dak Prescott. Redskins shut down Ezekiel Elliott in that game, 15 carries, something like 33 yards, something along those lines. So it's going to take one of those types of efforts. But the difference in this game versus last year, we kind of saw it in the Thanksgiving game last year, is just way more weaponry for the Cowboys at their disposal, and it's going to give them more options to be able to spread the football around. Now you add Jason Witten in the mix. I'm not as much concerned about him as a pass catcher as I am, in the run game, as him being able to set the physical edge in the run game and be able to be stopped at the point of attack. So it'll be interesting to see how this game develops. I think it is going to take a big deal of the Redskins getting pressure, because we didn't get pressure last week on Carson Wentz, and you saw what he was able to do. I agree with your assessment of Josh Norman in terms of him opening up his hips. That's where he struggles. That's why Deshaun Jackson was able to run by him last week, despite him being in zone and off. Jackson still able to run by him because his transition from back pedal to flipping his hips and full sprint isn't the cleanest nor the fastest. So he's a guy that he did a good job and he always does a good job on bigger receivers.
Yeah.
But it's guys that are shifty, that have the ability to get in and out of breaks and have that ability to accelerate that he struggles with. So it'll be interesting to see if the Redskins, one, can get pressure on the Cowboys. I think one is stopping Ezekiel Elliott. I think you got to start there. That's where it begins and ends, really. It's stopping Ezekiel Elliott and then finding a way to get pressure on Dak Prescott, who, if nothing else, and my biggest nightmare with him has always been his ability to extend plays and escape the pocket. We have never been able to really contain him. I remember 2 big runs last Thanksgiving where he just broke our back. We tried to get back into the game. It's like a 3rd and 12, and he ends up running for a touchdown when we had him bottled up. And it's those types of plays. And it goes all the way back to Tony Romo. We had trouble containing Tony Romo in the pocket. It's even worse now with Dak Prescott because he's a little bit more of a better athlete. So that's going to be big. All these receivers, all these injuries to the secondary, it doesn't bode well for the Redskins. Yet I still feel like this is a game that is going to be up in the air. I think a lot of people saw the Cowboys' performance last week and just expect them to come into FedEx and score a bunch of points and win this thing going away. I don't see that being the case. So that leads me to my final question for you. What is your prediction for this game?
Oh, man, I got 28-13 Dallas Cowboys all day, baby.
Yeah. So, you essentially pretty much said what I just said, which is a lot of people think that this is going to be a Cowboys victory going away. And no sooner do you say 28-13, Cowboys come in, take care of business, and leave 2-0 on the season. I do not feel the same way, obviously. Now, I'll be the first to tell you when I don't think we're going to win a football game. I did not think we were going to beat the Eagles last week, but I do, however, think the Redskins have enough to get it done. Saw some things last week, even though the Giants, I think they're going to be horrible this year, and you took full advantage of a team that I think isn't going to be very good. Did see some things from the Giants that gives me hope that the Redskins may be able to score some points and make this a much more competitive football game than you think and possibly steal it at the end. So, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on the program behind enemy lines here on the Redskins Nightly News. Tell the people where they can find you before I let you go.
I was going to give you my one reservation against my team opposed to yours, but, if you don't mind if I can squeeze this out, I got to put this out there to the universe. Now, I'm not going to be super homer when I talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I have to be objective. And speaking objectively, this guy, Adrian Peterson, scares me. And here's why. And y'all listen up to me, Redskin Nation, if there ever such a thing, right? But Redskin.
All the disrespect.
But shout out to you all. But my thing is, Adrian Peterson on the first part of anybody's year, he's fresh. And he knows the tape. He studies tape. He lives in the tape room. He can block. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. And this is our weakness right now, in between the tackles. I believe that if the Redskins use our linebackers, our strength as our weakness, then you guys can capitalize. Saquon Barkley had that same notion last week. Y'all saw him gashed up for 59 yards. And I recall the first time we played against Adrian Peterson, he stiff throwing my brother from another mother. No other. Don't look like Danny Glover, Jeff Heath. You remember that? He was running. He ran for 99 yards on us. So right now we're going to be facing against a healthy Adrian Peterson. And we got to rally and chase. And the biggest thing for Case Keenum, we know that he got an arm. And we can't sleep on Terry McLaurin. That's his name, right?
Scary Terry, baby.
Terry can take the top off the defense like no other. And if you guys can start that play action and get and hit us and gash us with a few runs, and then we creeping and moving our safeties inside, and we're moving our linebackers a little closer to the LOS, the battle in the game is won in the trenches. It can be a long day. And don't let us wear the dark navy blue jerseys too. Yes. We got to wear the white. Because that's a 12 o'clock game, early game.
It's a 1 o'clock game. 12
1 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's when the sun is at its highest peak, and it's going to be beaming down on us. So we got to figure out a way to stop and shut down the run early and often. If not, Adrian Peterson, and you guys still got some backup running backs to give him a spell as well. So it's not going to be a cakewalk.
I'm really excited to see him back in the lineup. I think that's a very valid point. I talked
Right.
about it on the show as one of my keys to victory is him getting back in the lineup. And I think he gives us the best chance to win at the running back position. And so I feel really good about him being reinserted. And I think he gives us our best shot at the running back position. And I like what that brings. I think that energy he's going to bring to this offense. I think they love blocking for him. And I think
Right.
he's a guy that obviously can make the first guy miss, be his own blocker. And it gives you a chance in the run game, something that we didn't have a week ago.
So I can say this. Jay Gruden lost that first game for you because there's no way in life. You up 17-0 and you got one of the best running backs in the league. He's sitting in street clothes. Come on now.
Yeah. You know what?
Come
I
on.
felt like this was more on the defense than it was on the offense.
True,
But
true.
you can look at it both ways. I mean, the offense needed to get at least a first down. They couldn't do it. The defense needed to get a stop. They couldn't do it. It's, it goes both ways. But at the end of the day, you'd love the defense to be able to get the ball back to the offense more than just 3 times in the second half.
Yes, indeed. So that's why I say it's going to be a rough game. You guys are going to score first again, but we're going to come out with.
You can't think it's going to be that rough. You got 28-13, man.
Hey! It could be 13-0, and everybody like, oh, look at the Cowboys. We knew it. We
28
knew it.
unanswered, man. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap. But this is the thing. On both sides of the ball, before I tell everybody where they can find me at. On both sides of the ball, Louie, you got to look at it like this. If the Cowboys really about their work action and they talking about they want to host a Lombardi trophy and we sipping on the Cowboys Kool-Aid, they got to show us something. This week they got to show us something. And then you never doubt a team with their back against the wall. Nobody never want to start off 0-2. Right. So it's a home game for you all. FedEx Field is it's not a vacation spot. So the fans are going to be out there. They're going to be pumped. They're going to be ready. They're going to say the first game was just a little rush. We knocked that off. And now we're going to figure out how to scan those Cowboys because that's how it's going to be. You see what I'm saying? So everybody's going to be out there in the stands, rally. They're going to be all ready to say, okay, they talking about they an America's team. We finna show them who's the national capital team, whatever y'all saying is, So I know it's going to be a dogfight, but I'm just saying, I'm going with the score 28-13. That's all I have to say, my friend.
All right. Tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, man. You guys can find me at LAW Nation. You can type that in on your Facebook or your Instagram. I'm on Twitter as well, MySpace, Black Planet. You just find me. LAW Nation. I'm there. And remember, you all are listening to nothing but the best. Salute.
All right, man. So that's Behind Enemy Lines. Law Thomas of Law Nation, the Dallas Cowboys, week 2, Redskins at home facing the Cowboys in a massive NFC East family business matchup. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. Thank you guys for joining me. See you next time.